Hello and welcome to Myths and Misperceptions about Organisational Agility, Part 1. This is part of a series of introductory videos to Agile. For those of you who aren't familiar with Agile and Organisational Agility and the differences between the two, hopefully this set of videos will give you an idea in more detail about what it's all about and what all the fuss is about out there and why everyone is talking about Agile. So this is part one. I mean, I'll split this up into a number of parts just to make the whole series a bit more palatable, so I'm not keeping you online for long periods of time. So today we're going to talk through the first 5 myths, and we'll talk in the next videos about some more. So here's the first myth. Agility is only about software delivery, and so the transformation is owned by the IT department. Now, there's a couple of things in that expression. Agility is only about software delivery. So that's the first thing. So look, it's understandable that people would think that Agile, as in the Agile process, is about software delivery, because the Agile Manifesto, as pictured up here in the top left-hand corner, came about in 2001. And it was because of software development and the issues that the 17 guys who met together in Snowbird, Colorado, when they talked about those 4 issues of software development. I'll not go into all that detail just now, but just to know that from the Agile Manifesto also came these 12 principles down in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, because Agile is seen as under the purview of the IT department or the technology department, whatever you want to call it, people might be led to believe that the transformation, the Agile transformation, is owned by the IT department. And that's complete and utter nonsense, yeah? My own honest opinion, as I've started posting on LinkedIn, is that the organisational agility needs to be owned by much more senior parts of the organisation. And ultimately, I feel that if the CEO can't sponsor it, or their executive team, it definitely needs to be sponsored by the HR director. And again, HR, not too happy about that expression. Maybe employee experience might be a better expression, but certainly someone senior in the organisation needs to sponsor this and drive organisational agility for the whole organisation, because organisational agility cuts across many different aspects of the organisation, not just the technology department. So that's myth number 1. Myth number 2, focus on the Agile process is key to organisational agility. See, that sort of leans on the previous myth, which is about IT owning and Agile being all about software delivery. It's not. And certainly, Agile process isn't the key to organisational agility. Now, if we think about what really is, it's something else entirely. But for a second here, if you look at these 4 different aspects, these 4 different frameworks, you can see that they're all about the process and the framework. Now, this is not to say that it doesn't have an important part to play in organisational agility about how we deliver solutions for the organisation. I won't say projects, but I'll say solutions. How solutions are delivered for the organisation, for the business, and how value is delivered. Of course, this is important, but it actually won't do anything to change the culture of your organisation, which is exactly what this is. I pressed that a bit too quickly there. I came over my little buzzery sound. But what is the aspect then we're looking at? Well, organisational culture is the key to organisational agility. Looking at the people and the values, their beliefs, their thinking, the mindsets, all of these things form the fundamental part of helping evolve the culture rather than the Agile process. As I've said to many people in the past, organisations I've helped train and get to become more agile, I would sooner have a waterfall process run in an agile way rather than an agile process run in a command and control waterfall type way. Now, I won't go into detail today about what waterfall means. That's probably subject for another video. But if you just think of waterfall as an alternative to agile process, one that is rather more driven like a waterfall and sequential, where we have to finish each stage before we proceed to the next one. And in waterfall, it's very hard to make change happen. So look, if your organisation at the minute is one that is largely bureaucratic, hierarchical and command and control, command and predict type of management, then what's going to have to change first is the organisational culture before you start landing the Agile process, because most likely the Agile process will often fail. The next myth: creating an Agile culture is easy and straightforward. Well, I suppose you might say it's simple, because the things that you have to do, i.e. change the conversations, change relationships, and change the interactions, the communication that people have with each other, that is most likely the simplest way that you can change. I mean, yes, you can simply change your culture as well by firing all the non-Agile people. Not something I'd recommend, not very humanistic, and certainly might cause you a lot of legal procedures and such like. So is that creating an Agile culture easy? I don't think so. Actually, it's going to take a little bit of time and effort. And as I say, it'll take patience and, most importantly, leadership. Now, this is one of the reasons I wrote my book, and I won't promote that here and now. You can probably find it if you look around on my channel here. But creating an Agile culture does take time, patience and leadership. And as I said in the book, it is about the leaders starting first. And I use the expression that the change should be from the top down. Now that can be misinterpreted, because I'm not actually meaning do command and control from the top down, as in top-down dictatorial, change been done to people. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm actually suggesting is the leaders themselves need to start to acquire more of the habits, more of the Agile mindset and the practices and the thinking that goes on to be more Agile. And that in itself takes leadership. So in my world, the leaders go first, and leaders lead, do they not? Focus on changing behaviours, practices will change the culture. So how do we go about changing a culture? Well, as I just said a little while ago, for me it's about changing the conversations we have. Because if we change the conversations, we will change the dynamic of how we interact with each other, and we will build more effective working relationships. So changing behaviours, as in the practices that are seen here, and again, this leans largely on the Agile process, as we said in one of the other myths, that this will go about changing the culture for you. And it won't. And the reason I've put this here as one of the myths is because it's one of the biggest myths that's perpetuated by many of the large consulting organisations who'd have you believe that all you need to do is just go and do this stuff. Just run some stand-ups, do some retrospectives or whatever, and then you'll find that you'll become more Agile, and this will change the culture. No, it won't. I do love that sound. It doesn't work like that. It is about, as I've said earlier, focusing on a mindset as well as behaviours. And behaviours here that I'm referring to are more than just those practices or ceremonies or whatever you'd want to call them as part of the Agile way of doing things. It is about, like I say, changing how we have our conversations, changing those behaviours. Rather than, say, talking at people, how about really listening to people? How about understanding what's hurting people in the organisation? So hence when I work with leaders to help them become more Agile, I'm asking them, rather than talk at people and advocate their positions, I'm asking them to inquire around what it is going on for people in their organisations. Rather than telling them that they're wrong or do this or do that, actually, let's inquire more about, well, what brings you to that position? What brings you to thinking about that in this particular way? And I think if we do that, that will go a long way to helping shift the culture. True, so let me add on this in the short term. It won't bring you efficiency in the short term. It really is about something else. It's about effectiveness. It's about doing the right thing, as opposed to doing the thing right. You see, if you do the thing right, and you do it often and often and often, and over and over and over again, you'll get better at it. And practice makes perfect, doesn't it? and therefore you will become more efficient. But effectiveness is about doing the right thing. So what is the right thing in any particular circumstance? Well, it all depends, doesn't it? It depends on what it is you're creating at what point in time and the context for its delivery. So really, I would argue strongly the point that it isn't really at all about efficiency, and we shouldn't be selling senior leaders on this notion that Agile is going to make you more efficient, because it might not, and there'll be a lot of very, very disappointed people afterwards when they find that they're having to take people from their business, from operations, to put them into the IT and technology teams, to give them the cross-functional teams that are required to work in an agile way. Where's the efficiency in that if you have to then go and backfill these roles that you've now taken out of operations? Because quite often when we go into organisations, we ask teams to be more agile, we'll be asking for business representation in the team. And the business representation we'll be asking is for the most knowledgeable person on this thing, this solution that we're looking for, or this problem we're trying to solve. So taking your best person from business or operations and putting them in an IT team and then backfilling, where's the efficiency in that? That isn't really very efficient at all. But it is the right thing to do, and it's the most effective thing to do. So look, there's 5 myths for you today. I'll share 5 more in the next video. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to sharing more in the very near future.